Why you should be an organ donor. Every single day, there is an average of 79 people receiving organ transplants. Yet, about 22 people die every day, waiting for a transplant that unfortunately can't happen because of the shortage of donors. The waiting list for an organ transplant has risen and continues to rise subsequently. It can be difficult to think about dying, even donating organs and tissues. However, being an organ donor can save multiple lives. The main reasons you should not only be a lifesaver, but become an organ donor is that people really need organs, you can give the gift of life, and you can be a living donor. With people dying daily from the lack of organs is heartbreaking. Did you know that just alone, you could save 8 lives? When you are an organ donor, there are artificial methods of continuing life do exist, like dialysis. However, these are not long-term and do not give patients the better health that an organ transplant would give. According to bcw.edu, there are more than 123,000 people on the waiting list. That number rises every 10 minutes. If more people would become organ donors, more lives could be impacted and saved. You can give the gift of life for free. How much easier could it get? We never know what path life will lead us on. But one day, it could be friends or family or even you who ends up on the waiting list and needs an organ donor. According to transplant.org, only 45% of Americans are registered as organ donors. That's not even half of our country. Your decision to become an organ donor does and will make a difference. You actually do not have to wait until death to donate organs. There's a process of living donation. Not that deceased organ donation isn't important and life-saving. Organs that can be donated through life donors are kidneys, liver, lungs, and pancreas. A live donation is an ultimate gift. It keeps another person from being added to the waiting list. According to matchingdonors.com, 50 years ago, the first living donor transplant took place in Massachusetts. Over the last 50 years, thousands of transplants through this method have successfully performed and many lives have been saved. Being an organ donor can make you a lifesaver. However, it's hard thinking about dying or donating parts of you. Being an organ donor can help save lives to people who really need it. You can give the gift of life, and you can also be a live donor. Just alone, you can save 8 lives for free. And becoming an organ donor, and I do not think there's anything better than the gift of life. Now I have a video.
Most admissions to intensive care units are not planned.
You don't expect to get hurt. Nobody expects to fall off a roof.
Or to slip and fall on ice and hurt their head.
Our jobs when they come through the doors is to make them the person that they were before.
Our motives are to care for that patient and that family. That's our primary responsibility. Never in my career have I ever thought of organ donation as a reason to alter the care of the children that I care for.
Our primary goal, first and foremost, is to get that person better as best we can.
The last thing we think is to look to see if this person is a registered donor.
Many of us in critical care have enrolled in the organ donation registry. None of us would have done this if we felt that any limitations would be placed on our care if we were critically ill.
I'm an organ donor, registered organ donor, as my family, and I'm confident that if I were ever in a situation that I would have everything done for me.
Whenever we are called to the emergency department, our goal is always the care of that child.
We do absolutely everything we can to lead to the patient's eventual recovery.
We put everything we have all day long into keeping our patients alive and putting them further on the road to recovery. Critical care nursing isn't just about the patient. We spend a lot of time working with their families.
They really trust you and rely on you to communicate information to them, to tell you everything wholeheartedly of what's going on with their loved one.
One particular family comes to mind. Their young daughter was in a terrible car accident, and they were coming to terms with her death.
Families want to be given all the information that they can so that they can make an informed decision.
I was able to spend 12 hours each, one with mom and one with dad, kind of going through, their grieving process and their decision-making process.
part of our job as nurses is to make sure that we help facilitate that.
That particular patient, I still get choked up talking about her.
It's only at the point of death or the point of the patient not being able to survive that any discussion of organ procurement is made. We're able to, at times, keep patients' hearts and lungs working when the brain is dead. When the brain dies, however, the patient is dead. It's, from my perspective, a failure in the inability of medicine and myself of having my patient survive. But it's also my role to explain that to the family and make sure they have every option available at this difficult time.
In some circumstances, it is making a miracle happen for perhaps somebody else rather than for our patient.
It's never expected that a child is going to die. And to see a family who is able to rise above that and realize that the death of their child, while being the worst moments of their life, they can move beyond that and actually think of other people. It's incredibly giving on their part, unselfish.
I'm humbled and amazed by families who sent me letters regarding their loved ones who died here at the hospital. They're grateful that absolutely everything was done for their loved one, and by the end understood why their loved one couldn't be saved.
Even family members coming after us saying, we do know that a part of them is still alive. And this is the one silver lining out of this whole nightmare storm that we've been living through.
There was some true happiness there at the end, and some closure and some comfort that their child was able to go on and donate and help another child live.
One of the donor families they actually took care of mentioned me by name in the patient's eulogy, which was one of the most humbling things I've ever experienced.
Thank you. I couldn't even use the video.
It was not playing on the video.
I didn't care.